Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, darling, had fun.
Before we start, I just want to have you sign something.
Okay.
This is just for our safety of the podcast. So if you could just give that a little quick signature, date that.
Darren, you swear to not throw or break any of the pickles to your equipment. I agree to not physically harm either host.
Just go ahead.
I think this is fair.
Just put your signature.
I will honestly say I'm probably the most dangerous pickleballer to date.
You know, we know. That's
Like,
why we
I'm
need
one of the
protection.
few people in pickleball, if not the only one, that you do not want to miss.
Go ahead, sign on the line, please.
And then we can have our conversation. Okay. That's so funny. I was not prepared for that. I saw him pull this out. I'm like, I'm dying.
What's the date?
3/14/2023. We actually did have a
That's amazing.
pretty lengthy conversation about the only person
Thank you very
DJ
much. We'll file
thinks
this.
could beat him in a fist fight or a fight to the death in pickleball.
Well, let's do like a
Face-
slap fight. Seen those?
But that's not a real fight.
Yeah, no, we're talking about real fights.
Getting slapped is different. Getting hit is different. An actual fight, we did talk about this. And there's only one person that I think could beat me
In like all of pickleball?
in all pickleball, like pro pickleball. I'm sure there's like some black belt, taekwondo, or something.
My guess would be Kohler.
There's no chance.
Only because he has a knife.
Well, he's a hockey player.
It wouldn't matter.
Who is it?
Dude, Aiden Leica.
Eden Leica.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
too big, too
Yeah, yeah,
strong.
What about Austin Check, the guy with the T? Yeah, that one.
No chance either.
He's gonna put some clothes on before you fight him, though. I want to read this to make sure the audience understands what just transpired. So it says, "I, Darian Young, hereby swear not to throw or break any of the PicklePod studio equipment. I agree to not physically harm either host should they ask me something that makes me angry or otherwise upset."
Emotional damage is
Signed.
not only okay, but encouraged.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Just no physical.
No physical.
You can't guess. We've already started. So
The physical you just can't recover from.
Yeah,
The
emotional.
emotional is fine.
Hopefully, if you do it correctly, there's no recovery from that either. But
Well, there's one that
more
I'm
difficult.
extremely good at, and the other one I'm okay at. We can
Fair.
both guess which one is which.
All right. Well, we're rolling. We got DJ Young, the bad boy at pickleball, if he wants to be. Which, by the way, I highly recommend it for the brand, and I think you're well on your way. But welcome to the Pickle Pod.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. Next to Thomas Shields and Gucci Navratil.
appreciate it.
You were called Zinc by the Voldemort pod, the pod we don't name.
Yeah, don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, same. Never mind. Moving on.
So we got some. You're going to announce a winner. We have a winner.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen. So for the pullover, because we were talking about this, so we're
Oh, it's my boy
pullover.
Lactates.
Yeah, it's gotta be it. How are we not gonna do Chad Lactates?
For sure.
He's easily our number one commenter. He's now commenting on other comments and interacting. So this guy is a great ambassador of the pod. Chad Lactates, I'm going to need your shirt size so we can get you your pullover. We're still looking for someone to come on the pod.
Is it like a maternity like pullover?
Yeah, we can make it. Yeah,
for
we'll
sure.
make
For
it
Lactates.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
His
God,
name
this
I
is
think,
off
is like
to a
Chad.
this is off to a rough start.
Acetus or something, and Zane pronounced it Chad Lactates.
Ooh, that's good stuff. I mean,
It's all the same letters.
No, it's wrong. We're still looking for somebody to come on the pod, so we're gonna have a commenter on the come on the actual podcast. We'll see if that's a mess or if that's interesting.
we just hope that he doesn't actually lactate.
We'll make him sign something too.
Yeah, you don't want no titted milk as you're talking to him coming straight to your face.
All right, last thing before we get into it, subscribe. Please subscribe. Subscribe. Once more, subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review on Spotify. All right, ready
What are
to
they
actually get
supposed
into
to
this thing? Subscribe on YouTube.
Okay,
Can you tell them actually? Can you tell them what to do?
you better subscribe.
That's pretty terrible.
Okay. Here we go.
All right, first question, because this is what everybody wants to know, and obviously we're going to start here. How much were you fined?
Okay, so every single pickleball player a non-pickleball player that I know has asked me how much I got fined. Truth is, I was very much told that I cannot disclose the amount of the fine.
That's fine.
I literally, like, I was, they really made sure that I was not supposed to tell anybody or anyone. So I don't even think my parents know. I'm scared.
That's okay. We'll play a game to figure it out. So I'm going to name some items, and you're going to tell me whether or not the average price of that item is, or actually if the fine is more or less than the average cost of that item.
It's not.
Gallon of milk.
More.
Okay, that does confirm that
It's
that
more
there
than
was
$1.
a fine.
It's more than $1. Okay, gotcha.
I gotta be honest.
In this
with you,
economy,
I don't know
like-
what a gallon of milk costs at all.
Not very
I have no
much.
idea. Maybe like $3.
Maybe. I don't drink milk.
Inflation,
I
bro.
don't- No dairy.
Lactose intolerant.
Consumer price index.
Next one, a carbon paddle.
More.
Okay.
Let's just leave it at that before I start crying.
Tesla.
Less. Very much less.
Okay, there you have it. Somewhere between a carbon paddle and a Tessie.
Yep.
Yeah.
There it is. Somewhere in the
Glad
middle.
we narrowed it down.
Yeah. Major takeaway there is it was above what, $100. So it was something. It wasn't nothing, which
It
was
wasn't
kind of the
inconsequential.
speculation. I
Yeah.
thought it was like a cent.
Also, to be fair, I mean, I follow Nick Kyrgios quite a bit. I think he's one of the most entertaining tennis players out
Would
there.
you consider him to be your role model?
No, no, not such thing. But I might have read something somewhere where, you know, these people are making millions, right? And I think for breaking a racket or something along the, you know, those lines, it was like $500 fine, and these people were making like millions. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like the worst thing to do personally. I mean, I wouldn't encourage it. Hopefully, it never happens again. But I mean, I just, you know, I think that at the end of the day, it's just not that big of a deal, regardless. But just how I view it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, like we kind of said at the beginning of this, like it can be a brand. Like, are we expected to pretend like we're all Roger Federer out there or Ben Johns, who's never shows much emotion? Like, that's not, to me, I feel like that's not even healthy, right? To keep everything confined. I feel like that person has to be exploding in some way or another, whether it's on the court or behind closed doors. Like, some people just let it out differently. And, you know, I think that people resonate with that so much so that, you know, rumor has it McEnroe used to get paid per racket smash because of his thing. So,
Well, PPA, let me know. Well, I will say, just anytime that I'm in front of you, let's just not compare Ben Johns to Roger Federer, if you don't mind.
I'm comparing demeanor.
But I mean, I think even Roger, I think it might have been like 2009 Miami against
that Miami.
Novak Djokovic. Might have been like 0-2 down in the third set, missed a forehand, and he smashed the racket. And I don't think anybody ever actually remembers. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens from now on.
Okay, but on that point, by the way, like where it could be a good marketing stunt, like Carbon had a good marketing stunt in the whole, you know, paddle debacle, because I'm pretty sure they just sold out after that. Your paddle sold out after it got tested last weekend after Rafa challenged it. So I wouldn't say it's off the table to, you know, maybe toss you a little cheddar to make something happen with your paddle and increase sales a little bit.
Yeah, no, we cut Rafa in. We'll send him a commission check, actually.
Yeah, well, Adidas definitely isn't paying him.
The guys at Pro XR was on top of the marketing for that. Like 3 hours later,
they reacted so quick.
They had this entire thing set up. And when they sold out, they ordered some more inventory. And my guy texts me. He's like, we're going to do a discount code. We're going to do a discount code. Thanks, Rafa. I was like, damn. There's not too much that's too far for me, but that might be it.
Really?
So I said, all right. Let's do challenge accepted. So discount code, challenge accepted, Pro XR paddles, real gritty,
Proxer.
39.4, might be Proxer. If you don't believe me, just go check out Tropical's review. He was giving himself a pedicure with them. They're so gritty,
Yeah.
but legal.
Yeah.
I will also just, kind of say, and I'm going to ask you a question. I believe that to some extent, the way that he threw the paddle after he got it challenged, there could be somewhat of a fine in there. I don't know. You tell me. It was kind of aggressive. You looked a little bit, flustered. It was like a toss. It was kind of a sick toss. I don't know. I think showing that kind of emotion out there might not be good for you.
That's true. I almost hit the ref with it too.
Yeah, after
I was pretty close. Yeah, that's true.
I think it's a fair question.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line? What constitutes a paddle throw that's finable? You had the little toss in a recent PPA. I think in the Indoor National Championship, Tyler Loong threw his up, like almost hit the ceiling, but he caught it.
What about
It's a pretty big paddle throw.
What about Tardio at MLP during a point? Like there was like a hand battle going on, center court. He shanks it. The ball goes in, but really high. He throws the paddle, thinking the point's over, and like grabs it again.
Right.
And then like they play the point out. I'm like,
yeah. Technically a paddle throw.
I mean, I smell fine.
True.
What
I'm
about-
just saying.
Connor Pardo would have, if that was you, he would have been out there before you caught it. He would have been like, "Here you go," and then DJ goes.
Wait, this was one of the questions, and one of the commenters asked this, and I've been wondering the same thing. Did you keep using the paddle, or was it like broken?
So
This is where his rehearsed lines come in.
So the paddle technically, I guess, is broken, but it's like a line, like up top.
At the top. Yeah, at the top.
Yeah.
So it's playable.
Oh, 100%. There's no doubt. I haven't tried, mostly because I think when something like that happens, you could start messing with like some tennis elbow stuff, just vibrations, and might have made it more poppy even. But yeah, it's definitely playable. It really did not really fully break. It just has like a cut on top, and which is extremely impressive because I threw that thing hard, very hard.
Well, Pickleball memes put out something about your paddle. Riley Newman's paddle after a routine hands exchange snapped in half. Carbon after DJ smashed it into the the core of the earth. Or
Yeah,
like
dude, that is good.
That's meme of the week,
That
by
is
the way.
good.
Yeah, right.
God,
Either
music
that
Pickleball is so good.
or the audio enhanced Zane meme. But anyway, we'll save that for later.
That is a good one too. I mean, there's no better. I've never seen Zane so emotionally invested in a match ever. At one
I'm
point,
always emotionally invested.
here's the thing. At one point, I don't know which match it was, but I hit a shot or he hit a shot, and I started yelling at them. And then I turned around, started yelling at Zane. And he just looks at me and starts yelling back. And I'm like, this is great. This is exactly what I need. And then we went on to winning the match, obviously. And yeah, no,
I like the little
I think it's
obviously
great.
there.
I'm really curious, what made you want to yell for 4.19 seconds?
That was unbelievable.
It was the best thing ever. Every time I watch it, I just laugh. I don't even need the enhanced audio.
I was just yelling. I started yelling like a normal yell. And then I was like, oh, I kind of have a lot left in my lungs. If I do this for long enough, I'll probably be on memes of pickleball. And after those thoughts went through my head, I was like, damn, I might as well just keep going.
Yeah, you're
And-
like, oh, I'm still yelling somehow.
Because like if I did a 2.5 second yell, that's just obnoxious. But if I drag it out for 4.5 seconds, then it's like, okay, this guy's just memeing.
Mhm.
It's just memeing.
Yeah, it is.
So what made you want to stop yelling? Just run out of air, or
I honestly, I felt like I was yelling for like 30 seconds out there. I was like, okay, enough's enough.
In that
the
moment
referee's
when
already called the
everyone's
score.
staring at you.
that's fair. I just don't think you do it long enough to the point where you realize that it was actually only 4 seconds.
I know it felt like an eternity out there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
It
That
did.
time you stopped.
It did. It really did.
Yeah, so you guys had a pretty eventful match there. And then I believe at the end, which one of you was hip thrusting?
Oh, I was hip thrusting.
Yeah.
I was definitely hip thrusting.
And who was your inspiration for that? Is it Althoff? I know you mentioned that Kyrgios, you're a big fan of him. He got fined for hip thrusting in the past.
Did he?
Well, he hip thrusted very aggressively 3 times, and it was everywhere. I don't remember if he actually got fined for it.
That'd be pretty impressive if he got fined.
Have
but
you seen
for
the clip?
I have not.
Jamie, throw it in. We're not going to show you. Just
I got excited for a second. So, okay, so I know
Actually,
everyone
I'll
wants to hear me say Altaf. Truth is, I never really think of Altaf, even though I like him a lot. There, there's this warm-up. So I have a warm-up routine that I learned from my strength and conditioning coach. And when I'm trying to warm up my pelvis and my spine, I actually do this rotation back and forward with my pelvis. So I do it every day, probably like 30 times a day. And so I just think it's becoming just a natural thing for me to do. I mean, everyone makes fun of me when I'm warming up at the pickleball tournaments, but then they realize that I could throw a paddle at them, and
then they get real quiet real
they
quick.
just stop.
So can you look directly into the camera and go over the pelvis thrusts again? And we're just gonna play some music, and you tell everybody about your pelvic thrusts.
The warm up or just the actual.
We'll just talk them through it.
Should I get up? Get really sexual.
So you didn't get fined for that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Did they make you clean up the court?
Well, it never came out of my pants.
Anyway, okay. So one of the questions that I have, and I have my own opinions because I've smashed paddles, I've thrown paddles, I've abused paddles in many ways before. What is the most satisfying form of paddle abuse? Is it a smash? Is it a throw? Is it something else?
The most satisfying one? That's a good question. So I would go along with what Memes of Pickleball says, and I think just trying to crack the Earth's core with the paddle itself might be the most satisfying one, in my opinion. Because I think there's something about that quick, motion that just applying a lot of pressure into something very rapidly, and then it's just I don't know. But at the same time, it's only like half a second, and you kind of regret it. But I would say that's the most satisfying one. It's like a half a second incredible feeling, and you're like, oof,
yeah.
Wait.
So I'd say there's
Oh,
pros
no.
pros and cons to all of them, right?
Yeah.
So like a paddle throw
It's a good
can be
analysis.
really, really nice and fulfilling sometimes. And occasionally, if you throw it to the right place, like a grassy field, it can land softly. And sometimes you can really throw the paddle very far and it won't break, which is like the best of both worlds. You got your anger out, but you also didn't break your paddle. I will say, for me, smashing a paddle feels barbaric. I feel like I'm above that. I prefer a good, swift snap over the knee, Tyson style. Although he didn't crush that one.
And we all know it was already like partially broken, right? Like there's no way he just clean snapped that thing. He
I don't
wants
know.
credit for the clean snap. I don't think it was a clean snap.
I'm
I think
not
it was
sure.
already partially broken.
Wow, paddle snapgate.
I truly think you would change your mind if you were able to throw it as hard as I do, and you can feel the ground shake after it actually makes contact with the ground. I think you would change your mind. Absolutely.
Probably. Yeah.
I think you got to frisbee it just as far as it can go and just see how much hang time you get.
Yeah, but what are the chances that something actually happens afterwards? That you hit a car, you hit a person.
Is what it is. You deal with the consequences later. It's all about the immediate satisfaction. That's a future you problem.
well, yeah. Hopefully we don't get there.
What if, all right, if you were to take, what if we filled a bag with a bunch of paddles and went out to like a disc golf course and just played disc golf with,
Ooh.
shout out to Trot Pickleball for the idea, but it sounds like it would actually be pretty fun.
It sounds like something that I would be extremely good at.
I think I'd load up with some gearboxes. You don't want them breaking, right?
lot
I
of
feel like they're
durability.
probably aerodynamic because they're kind of thin.
Or that
You know-
Yola like round paddle they just came out with.
That's true.
basically like a circle with a handle.
There's the Prokenex stuff. Those are kind of like circular shaped. I don't know.
Oval.
I
The ovation.
Oh, yeah. I've always kind of wondered, and I thought about doing this at one point and then didn't. What paddle throws the farthest?
It's gotta have to do with the shape of the paddle
For sure.
and the most aerodynamic ones. There's got to be, without an edge guard, it's got to be thin for sure, so it travels through the air better. So I would say probably even the Prokenex at that point, the ovation.
Bro, what in the actual hell is this?
That's just my
Ooh,
girlfriend.
Zara.
Dude,
What?
we didn't even talk about this. he gets a text message.
Wait, did you not know that?
No, whose phone is
Wait,
this?
you got to show that
That's
to
my
the camera.
Oh my god. I don't know whether to be like flattered or really uncomfortable.
I just,
I'm gonna
I
go
just.
with a little bit of both.
Hey, you're the one. You're the one who said she's
That
pretty
was
hot.
that was not scripted.
Here's the thing: you can't throw yourself flowers of how you look as a girl and then not accept the fact that men are attracted to you afterwards.
I guess I just wasn't ready for it. Anyway, are we ready to review?
No, so we'll save that for the end, so it's not
Okay.
like super disjointed.
Love
We're gonna do a little paddle toss, where we got a bunch of videos of paddle tosses, breaks. We're gonna do a little review, so we'll do that at the end.
Fun.
In the meantime, should we talk about roids?
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So the big question is, what is more advantageous in pickleball? Steroids or illegal paddles? Carbon or crack? Yola,
That's the name of the segment. Carbon or
Jula
crack.
or juicing? Oh, I got a couple of these. Paddle Tech or PEDs? Pro XR or PCP? Selkirk or stimulants? Hudef. Why are you laughing already?
Just let me just stop.
Hudef or heroin?
Whoa.
Adidas or Adderall? Anyway, I'm done.
That was a lot.
So wait, what was
that
the
was
question?
a lot.
What just happened?
What is more advantageous in pickleball? An illegal paddle or a illegal substance, which can be, I would guess, would be certain stimulants and steroids.
Some HGH? You'd have to do the steroids over a long period of time, right? You got to do like cycles and stuff. Not that I know that much about it or anything.
Thomas on steroids confirmed on the podcast.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's accusing me or suspecting me of doing steroids. And to be honest, DJ, I think you're pretty clear of the accusations too, because you couldn't even break a paddle properly. That thing was still intact.
But he was pretty angry.
That's
So
so you're gonna have to answer this once and for all.
So okay,
You
so
guys
I
doing
will
steroids?
say no, but I don't think I was actually mad at the moment that I threw my paddle. It just felt like it was kind of like one of those things you're just not thinking and you're doing like kind of like an instant gratification thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, like in the moment, you're like, boom, and you're like, oh, that felt good, and then you're like, wait. But I wasn't mad. Like you can watch me go and be like, sorry guys, and then afterwards I went up to Federico and Pablo and like high fived them. I think I might have even gave Federico a hug, and I was like, all right, well it is what it is. But I wasn't like mad. Like there's no such thing as like anger issues. I don't think. Now, I would probably argue that. Now, are steroids and PEDs the same thing?
Yeah, steroid is steroid typically refers to like an HGH or something like that, and it's a type of performance enhancing drugs, which could be anything really. Like you could be like, caffeine's a performance enhancing drug. It's just like where to draw the line, what's legal, what's not.
Yeah, I mean that's really tough. I really do think definitely PEDs are more of a cheat code thing than illegal paddles, in my opinion. I don't have a extremely good knowledge on, which PEDs are there. I don't know much about how they work. I know they basically, don't make you tired, right? Like, but I don't know what people could take. I know Adderall could be one of them. I know that's banned in certain sports, or if not all sports, probably amphetamine. It's probably one of those two.
I would guess so. I think anything that I think there's a couple different tiers, right? So there's a couple things that would be instant improvements to your game, right? Like an illegal paddle would pretty much almost instantly make you better. You'd have to obviously get accustomed to whether it's more spin or more deflection. You need to maybe a couple days to get used to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think performance enhancing drugs would depend on the performance enhancing drug. Like if you're somebody who is not prescribed a stimulant like an Adderall, I think that it would help your ability to focus. But then again, I don't know if there's other downsides to it. Like, just anecdotally, I've had buddies in high school who were like on Adderall, and then we'd go to gym class and they wouldn't really feel like doing anything. They'd be locked the hell in at science class. But like when it came to gym, they were like not really about it. So I don't know if there are downsides or what the downsides would be to taking like a focus drug. I don't know. What either of you guys think?
I think you would just lock in. Like if you've ever taken Adderall, one, it's just an energy boost, but two, it really makes you focus. And so you're just more locked in. And I don't know, that can be a difference maker in some matches. I mean, some people were commenting saying, I used to take Adderall, and when I would use it during matches, I 100% noticed an improvement in my ability to focus and my energy levels. So, I mean, there's an advantage there. But like, is that really an unfair advantage? I think the real question is like, if somebody's taking human growth hormone for 3, 4, 6 months, a year, their change of pace, their ability to stop and start, their ability to hit the ball is going to be heavily impacted. Like it's absolutely going to make you a better pickleball player, particularly when it comes to singles, right? Not so much in doubles, but singles, those passing shots, the ability to track down, I don't know, like one of your opponent's passing shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the ability to, cut, get a ball and stop and get to the other side of the court quicker, particularly if you're like an older player, right? And there's a lot of older players in pickleball who could benefit from that.
Let me ask you this. Who's your top 3 that you think is taking some PEDs in
Oh,
pickleball?
boy.
Let's hear it.
Althoff Merchant.
Oh.
Oh, God, I can't say it.
Just give it to me.
I can't say it. Let's see.
Like truly, like not necessarily that they're like on a certain cycle, but maybe they're taking something that would probably be viewed as illegal in a different sport that you think they might be on. I'm not saying you're accusing them, just more of I think this person could be on it.
I bet there's a bunch of people taking Adderall.
No doubt.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one, right? Because like Adderall. What if somebody is like genuinely ADD and they've had to be on Adderall since they were like
Simone Biles? Remember what happened with her?
No.
She was prescribed. Then during the Olympics, it was listed as a banned substance, and she ended up just withdrawing from the event altogether because she was like, "I'm so used to taking it. If I don't take it, it's going to impact me."
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more common.
I think that's a legitimate thing. Right, so like, there's people who are actually ADD who are prescribed medicine that they need, and then there's people who aren't, who are looking to take it as an advantage. So what do you do? Like, do you need a prescription? Well, I'm pretty sure it's pretty easy to go get a fake subscription or prescription for that stuff. Subscribe.
You better subscribe.
But like, at least when I was in high school, all you had to do was say like, I can't focus in class.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, here's your Adderall if you wanted to. Like, I don't think that's difficult to do. So what do? Do you outright ban it for everybody? Do you go you need a prescription route? Like, I guess what is I'm just trying to say it sucks for somebody who genuinely needs it, but where do you draw the line of this person genuinely needs it, that person's cheating?
And just for the record, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, there's a bunch of Twitter back and forth from a bunch of the pros actually yesterday, like midday and last night, about how they're basically implying that they think some people are taking steroids, whether that's or performance enhancing drugs, whatever that is. I don't know. If you want to see a bunch of the screenshots, we kind of archived a bunch of it on the dinkpickleball.com. So just go thedinkpickleball.com/performance enhancing drugs, or just Google it and you'll see it. But I mean, that kind of popped off out of nowhere yesterday, and there's been a bunch of back and forth and a lot of different people chiming in. One of the main points was like, okay, well, if it's happening, how do you test for it? And are we at a point where you could even regulate it, even if you wanted to?
Yeah, I think Casey Patterson, I noticed on your post, had a pretty good point. Like, it'd be great if we could test for the stuff, but still, his point is that there's still not enough prize money to really test for performance enhancing drugs. Super expensive to do. I'll actually just read his comment. As someone who's had to fill out a 24/7 location and travel schedule for WADA and USADA, which are drug testing agencies, it's not easy. 20 years of testing reps knocking at my door at 6 a.m., random beaches, eating lunch with family, and anywhere else I went. That's just the athlete side. Until PB is in the Olympics, it might not be possible. Tough to justify the cost of testing and the hassle. That's just from a logistics standpoint. My personal opinion is test everyone and catch all the cheaters. I just know it's so gnarly to actually establish as a pro tour. And that's was going to be one of my points is it's going to be so expensive to do this. Like, it's going to be unbelievably expensive to do this. I think, suggestion would be just make a drug policy, no enforcement, right? But if someone's caught with needles sticking out of their butt or whatever, right? Like, okay, you're cheating, you're banned, whatever, right? We're not going to blood test people, but at least having a policy in place, I think, could be a slight deterrent. I don't know.
Yeah, could you just test randomly? I mean, what do you have to test blood? Could you just be?
I don't know how. I don't
even know what it would actually entail. Lucy Kovalova was like, "Let's just test every player before Austin tournament. Let's see how many suddenly wouldn't be able to make it." It's like,
yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard. Like I follow UFC quite closely. I know that a lot of the times, I mean, it could be, I think the guy was saying, it could be 2 a.m. and you're sleeping and someone's knocking on your door like, all right, brother, come on.
yeah,
Let's
right.
get tested. I don't think we would necessarily need that at the moment. I mean, we're not making that much money with prize money anyway, so it's not like it would make sense for all of us to have to go through that anyway. That said, though, I think it wouldn't be the worst thing to randomly test 5 people at a tournament and see what happens, and just and I think just by doing that, kind of going back to my fine is like, okay, well, maybe because we did this, it's going to stop other people from doing it because they could be next. So I think doing that might make more sense if it's possible in a way than just, drug testing Zane Avertil at 4 a.m. in the morning when he's doing squats.
Which is what he does it for.
Yeah, no, exactly. This guy's up at crazy hours. I'll text him 8 p.m. Next thing I know, it's like, oh, I got a text from Avertil. All right.
I'll text you back at 5:15 the next morning.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I'm asleep at 8.
That's what it is. Yeah. I'm just getting started at 8.
I think it's interesting because I think there's obviously people think of steroids and they think of the way that a baseball player would use it or a fighter would use it, but not necessarily the way a cyclist might use it for recovery, right? And that's the thing. You play singles on Thursday and then you have to go out and play 2 more events Friday and Saturday. I think a recovery type of steroid, I don't really know what that is would be very advantageous. There's things that aren't, I think the word is exogenous, outside the body, that you can use that are illegal. Blood doping is where you basically take blood from yourself when your blood is very oxygenated and not filled with lactic acid. You go play a 8-hour day and then you go replace your current blood with your old blood, which is
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it's a
hey,
thing.
Hey DJ, why does Zane know so much about this?
I am so lost right now, and I'm starting to have my own questions about all of this.
I mean, everybody was saying you were looking pretty buff. You're starting, starting to get a little more emotional
put on
on the
some
court.
muscle.
I don't know,
Oh, boy.
dude.
That's a must.
I don't know. I've got cakes now.
Yeah, you got cakes now.
I got the booty.
I mean, just looking at Zara.
Either or, she goes by both.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
I think one of the points people made was that there's not enough prize money to incentivize people to do it right now or to cheat now. It's like I would completely disagree.
I disagree with that.
Especially if you're like a top 10 player. I mean, imagine if you could get to top 5 from top 20. I mean, that's pretty substantial for your career right now.
Question though. So as Zane and I know, I don't know how much you know, but a lot of our money comes from appearance fee. So if I was to subtract that from my actual prize money at a tournament, I don't think I'd be making a lot of money personally. So if it came just from prize money and you went from like top 10 to top 5, I don't know how much more you'd be making just exclusively from prize money.
But
truly.
that's like actual fees from or like payouts from tournaments. I'm talking about like if you were sort of like a top 30 player, but now you're a top 5, you're doing so much for your brand, for potential sponsorships, for a bigger deal with a paddle company.
There's a lot of reasons to want to be good, and like it's not necessarily the prize money, like you said. Like prize money is a somewhat small variable thing, but like you'll get better sponsors if you're winning.
Honestly, I just brought that up because I thought he said prize money. I promise.
No, I did.
Literally thought you said prize money. I was like,
did.
well, you
For
get
sure.
$200 to win a round. I'm not sure.
I think overall money for your brand is larger,
Agreed.
substantially if you're doing well.
Agreed.
Still, and I don't even think that it's the money thing, right? I think there are people who are so competitive that just want to win. Like it could be $0. Now, obviously, money's a motivator for some people. Winning's a motivator for others, and some combination of both is probably where every pro pickleball player is. But I think some people would do it just to win, regardless of money.
I could see that. I just would feel like a cheater if I just I just feel like if I regardless of who it is, if I saw somebody like competing at let's say for whatever reason, like let's say Cristiano Ronaldo in soccer, and I look at him and I see who it is, who he is as a person, as an athlete, and what he's done. And then now in 3 years, he's been doing like PEDs for like 20 years. I'd be like, all right, well, there he goes. Like there's like no respect for this person anymore, in my opinion. As an, lower level athlete to, a higher level athlete. But I just don't think, I don't know. I think you should just work hard and try your best and figure it out and just try to find ways to just cheat your way around, truly, personally. But,
yeah. I think we kind of all agree with that, right?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much the prevailing philosophy or outlook on PEDs.
I think you should do steroids to win.
Do whatever it takes.
Winning at all cost. Like I said in previous podcasts, man. Call every ball out. Take steroids. Call every ball out. And we're good. That's it.
It's good that you're wearing a Chicago Slice shirt right now as you say all that.
Slice it up, baby.
when in doubt, call it out.
Okay, so during your match with Rafa, and then you both played Rafa and Tardio, that one got heated. What are you guys saying to each other out there?
Like me and DJ,
yeah.
or
No, well, yeah, and then like to the other team when you guys are chirping at each other. Like it's clear things are being said, but from the live stream you just can't tell. Like what are you guys saying to each other?
Go ahead.
well, Gabe was pretty quiet, believe it or not. But I don't really chirp. I really don't chirp to the other side of the net at all. I don't know. Do you? I don't even hear it a lot of times when other people are saying stuff.
I think so. I do chirp. I think I truly, and I talked to my dad about this recently too. I I have been kind of before the paddle throw. I've been kind of like too stoic, kind of like not showing emotion. Just Callan Dawson it up. Just kind of okay, we'll play pickleball. And after the paddle throw, not that it's gonna happen again.
Oh boy.
But I realized I'm like, like I just think I should be myself out there. And I think a lot of people are gonna start getting their feelings hurt at some point. And so this tournament, it kind of came out more to where like I just wanted to like yell, get in people's faces, and just kind of see what happens. And I think it worked out pretty well. And in certain times, I was definitely talking to my opponents. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful or anything. Like it wasn't fully like I don't like you. Like there's nobody that I dislike aside from Zane. Even though
Can't blame you.
There's Zara. But at the same
Real
time,
uncomfortable.
I would say that that's just being me, and I definitely do say some stuff. Like I remember I was playing Jay and Andre, and I said something along the like Jay missed third, and I was like, "You're nervous. You're so nervous." and and then at one point, so PPA posted this. It was 11-11-1 for us in the second game, and he did a speed up that I basically hit as an overhead, and I clocked it at 90 miles an hour, and I started just kind of like yelling, "Woo!" And I think things like that just kind of get in their head at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't think I take it to a point where it's disrespectful yet. It might get there at some point, but I do think it's just part of who I am, and it's definitely going to be happening more and more. So I do say some stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
I have to say, we have to play that clip on this. This is the craziest counter I've ever seen.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He squatted down. Jay sped up, and he took a full swing overhead from the kitchen off of Jay's speed up.
Yeah.
I'm not even
Like,
sure if that was a
Andre
scorpion
almost
or
got
just a
murdered.
forehand
Yeah.
load, but either way,
I will also say, actually,
He would have been fined for that if Andre died.
I agree. If that went through his chest, man, poor guy. But I will also say, I think we were down like 8-9 in the third against Rafa and Tardio, and Zane hit a terrible, terrible third. And then Tardio put into the net with like a backhand like overhead, basically. And I was like, there's poop in his pants for sure. There's poop in his pants.
So that he could hear it.
I mean, I said it, but dude, it's so loud on center court.
Yeah, yeah.
Any center court that you go to, especially somewhere like like Daytona Beach, or when we were at the Columbus, Ohio, like you would have to be extremely loud for anyone to hear what you're saying. But I definitely saw poop in his pants.
I heard Rafa say "yeah, baby" a couple times.
Yeah.
like you two were probably chirping. I pretty much like am in my own world out there for the most part.
For 4.19 seconds, you were.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. So I mean, like, I'm gonna say if we took the total amount of yelling time from that match, I think Rafa still yells more. I just yelled all at once, right? So
Yeah.
there were a lot of "yeah, babies" coming over from over
yeah,
there.
baby.
So I don't mind the chirping either. I think it's interesting. I think we need boom mics on the court to pick it up,
100%.
and also for sure a 30-second tape delay, because I say some shit out there. I say not to the opponents. I'll just say some stuff to DJ and
He does say some stuff to me.
I say
pretty
some.
funny.
I keep it loose out there a little bit.
Yeah.
I might need to, if we get boom mics. I thought memes of pickleball was what was going to cancel me. That's what it's going to be like. It's going to be rough for me.
I will say too, Callan Dawson. I love the guy. He's a really good friend of mine. We've known each other for like 10 years, and he has some of the best one-liners on a pickleball court that you will ever hear. And
But he's like calm and cool about it in his delivery.
Yeah, exactly. It's just perfect timing. You never expect it because he doesn't say a word, and then he'll just throw something before you're about to serve, and you're just like, timeout. I can't serve. I can't serve right now.
I played rec with Althoff and Jay the day before singles, and Althoff was chirping the entire time. Obviously, like losing to Jay in this, but actually it was pretty close. But like every time they would get in a hands battle, Althoff was winning all the hands battles. Jay was winning everything else, but Althoff was his poppy in the hands battles. Althoff turns to me after one of them. He's like, "You can't lose to them tomorrow," or whatever it was, Friday. You can't lose to him. He has croissant hands. I should have told you that before we played him.
So good.
He's got croissant hands.
Well, at one point in that match, so it was pretty late in the second game, and I was popping forehands up like a madman. And Jay was winning some hand battles. And I turned around as you were like laughing at me. And I was like, dude, I can't lose to Jay in hand battles. Like, what's going on? This is not okay. So that's pretty funny that I lost to someone that has croissant hands. So.
I can already see the Instagram clip of this one. JB is going to have some picture of Jay like this.
With just actual croissants.
Shout out to Althoff for the all-time one-liners.
Wait, okay, so then on that one, he must have just telegraphed it and you're just ready for it.
I mean, it was the first time in the match that he put a second hand on his battle. Like, literally.
Yeah.
Like, everything was like out of the air volley, dink roll, or it was letting it bounce and slice. And then he just let it bounce and put a second hand. So there's only one thing he can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, got destroyed.
Right. So there's certain players who like they have a tell basically. You're like, oh, here it comes.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's pretty standard for everyone, right? Like, usually most people will not give you a one hand slice cross court dink, a two hand top spin dink, and then they'll speed up. Like they'll just like do one thing. It's like, oh, speed up. You know,
Mhm.
I think most people telegraph their attacks most of the time,
Yeah.
and the ones that don't are the best at it, right?
Right.
Ben, Riley, Deckle's pretty good at it. So
Yeah. But even if you do telegraph, like there's still players who you know it's coming, but you don't know where the ball's going to go, right?
yeah,
And
for sure.
a simple inflection in the wrist can change the trajectory of the ball, and so you still don't even know where it's going to go, even if you know it's about to be sped up at you.
Yeah, but I think if you're playing somewhat the right strategy and you're covering the right spot, and so is your partner, I think it's extremely simple to just recounter that attack.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, Ben and Collin are a huge example of that. Like, you know, Collin takes a step back, Ben sits forehand, and then I was like, okay, where do you go? Fully cross court? It's pretty hard to do. So I would say there's things you can do on the court that even if they don't telegraph it, you're like, okay, if I cover this spot, you know, if the ball's coming from this angle, I know that I have to cover this side of my body. That gives me a 77% chance of success.
It's good math right there. How'd you?
It's Pickleball tips for you right there.
Yeah.
And subscribe.
There you go. He's got it now.
I do remember when we played with Kevin Durant over at those courts near South Lamar.
Of course.
And I remember playing against you, and I remember playing against Deckel that day, and thinking with both of you, even if I knew you were about to do something, I mean, the way you guys can like invert your paddle or just change the angle, it's like I didn't know what was about to happen,
Yeah.
and I could be up with my hands ready, and it didn't matter. I mean, you.
Well, then you got to deal with the counter, right? Your counter, recounter. So, yeah, it gets pretty tough out there for sure. Happens so quick. Carbon paddle.
Yeah, it's added a lot of attacking to the game. That's for sure. Yeah, you can know it's coming, but I mean, a lot of people know when my backhand speed up is coming. But
Yeah, but you
like you put it
have
in a good.
9
good
out of
spot.
10 success rate with it for sure.
I was doing pretty well this weekend.
Yeah, you were. You hit a couple and you're like, sorry, dude. And I was like, don't worry about it.
I was like 18 for 20. I was like, oh, my bad.
Yeah. Like, never do it again, bro. Gosh.
All right, where are we at, Tommy?
I don't know. One thing we do need to cover is the fact that your team just took a investment from Dude Perfect, valuing the team at $5 million. Are we saying all the Major League Pickleball teams are valued at $5 million now? Is that where we are with this?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. So first off, Dude Perfect. That's sweet, right? What an incredible fit, and pretty awesome to have that group involved in pickleball, and just the demographic that they reach, which is, you know, younger people who are involved in sports and love sports. So like, I'm super stoked to be part of that team, and really interested to see, you know, what exactly that looks like. $5 million valuation. Now, they didn't buy the team outright for $5 million,
right.
but they purchased a stake that would value the team at $5
Yep.
million bucks.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I think there's definitely a scarcity element here, right? Where there were 50 plus people who were vying to purchase teams at $1 million, right? Or whatever they were sold for last time. I don't think it's an unrealistic valuation. Is it an investment that they're looking to like return on tomorrow? Obviously not.
No.
Right? I don't know. What do you guys think? You're a billionaire. What are you willing to spend?
Okay, so I think in this case it wouldn't come at all down to fundamental financials. It would come down to what does the market value it? What is the market price? And the market price is apparently $5 million because that's what someone was willing to pay. So that's kind of what the floor is right now. And we'll see if more people come in and make investments at a price like that. It's kind of like, Bored apes, for example. What the hell's the value of a bored ape other than everybody wanted to buy one? So it drove the price up. And as you said, scarcity of pro teams that you can actually buy into.
I wonder if that's I don't know. I wonder if that's a controlling interest in Clean Cause or in the Frisco team, or a non-controlling interest, because that extra 2%. Let's say that this $5 million valuation gets them 49%, right? I bet you this is a $7, $8, $9, $10 million valuation for that extra 2%, where you have controlling interest over the team.
Mm.
I think that extra 2% they would pay a whole lot more for.
You just have to pay more and then it would be up to the other owners to decide whether or not they were willing to relinquish that much equity.
Right, but the other
it doesn't
owners
change the valuation.
Well, sure, but I don't think that they would. I don't know if they got control of this team for $5 million.
No, they didn't, unless they paid
not
over $2.5 million. If it's a $5 million valuation, you need to own 50% or more, or 51% essentially, right?
No, I understand the valuation thing, right? Maybe I don't. But if you would pay more for controlling the team than you would for an interest in the team, I would guess. I think there's more value in being able to control all the decisions of the team, right? So let's say they just purchased 49% for $2.5 million, which would basically be the $5 million valuation.
Mm-hmm.
Is Clean Cause going to relinquish complete control for that extra 2%? Like, they would, to relinquish control, I would assume that they would want more.
Yeah, it would simply just come down to the negotiations.
So I think that's an interesting piece of things. I'm curious whether they have full control over the decision making of the team.
I doubt it. I mean, they could have written a $100,000 check into it, right? They could have paid $1 for some amount of equity. They could have paid over 2.5 and now have a controlling interest. Nobody knows. It's just basically like, okay, what check did they write, and then how much percentage do they get based on that $5 million valuation? So who knows? I would bet that no, they do not have controlling interest.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think almost all of the teams, the controlling interest still lies with the original owner.
Well, it'll be interesting to see more news. It's only really come out so far in a podcast that I believe Steve was on. What was that called? Like
Sportico, yeah, they're like
another irrelevant podcast. Should have been on the Dink podcast, the Pickle Pod, but yeah, it'll be interesting when MLP and Dude Perfect come out with their statements. I haven't seen anything from that quite yet.
Yeah, usually they do some big like PR push, but it came out through Sportico. Maybe Sportico negotiated that or paid to have the drop on it.
I don't know, but Frisco Clean Cause Dude Perfect is gonna get a win this MLP.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to go to the Dude Perfect headquarters and play some pickleball and record this podcast.
That's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet.
We'll bring you with if you promise not to break anything.
Well, that place probably has a lot of things to break. No promises.
DJ.
Yeah.
I did this one time. We should go to a rage room. Have you ever
thought about that. So I was in Minneapolis with Jay, and we had just we were staying together, and we had just lost the semifinals and the bronze medal, unfortunately. And on the way back to dinner, there was a rage room.
No way.
I promise. And I looked it up, and it was pretty cheap. It was like, I think it was like $75 at most to like start breaking things and give you like golf clubs, baseball bats. And I was like, this would be amazing if I didn't already do it on the court.
Yeah, there you go. But $200 carbon paddle or $75, and all you can break china glasses. I don't know.
But here's the thing, like, I totally get it, and I'd be down to experience it. I don't have anger issues. Like, you know me pretty well off the court. Like, I'm like pretty chill.
Okay.
And
You better not, because you just signed that contract stating that you wouldn't have any, particularly for this episode. So just
no, exactly. I mean, now I'm
just want to bring that up again.
I'm under contract right now. Just wait until we get out.
It's true. When does that extend to?
When we were like thinking of ideas for when you came on, I was in my mind picturing us in the alley over here, all with paddles, just trying to like throw them and seeing
Next
what we could do,
episode.
what kind of damage we could do. All the people in town for South by, they just like look down and out. South by's like right there, the main conference. It's like they just look in an alley and see all three of us just throwing paddles at the ground. Like, oh, this is Austin, Texas.
Yeah, that is as Austin, Texas as it
It's a
gets,
pickleball
for sure.
hotbed.
How we do it?
Fit8 Energy. It's time to upgrade from artificial sweeteners and chemically derived caffeine. Fit8 Energy is the ultimate energy drink that is always naturally sweetened and filled with clean caffeine from green tea. Fit8 Energy contains a combination of performance ingredients to give you the boost you need on and off the pickleball court. Visit lifeaidbevco.com today. Visit lifeaidbevco.com today, and you can save 20% and get free shipping on your first order with exclusive coupon code DINK20 at checkout. That's all caps DINK20. That's lifeaidbevco.com and code DINK20 for 20% off plus fast free shipping. The future of energy drinks is here. Welcome to Energy 3.0. Avi Athletics. Avi is elevating pickleball by creating exceptional athletic wear. You see Alex Newman rocking this stuff all the time. Super swaggy. They believe everyone from professional athletes to casual enthusiasts deserves well-constructed, expertly designed clothing made just for their sport. Avi differs from traditional tennis clothing with pockets that are created specifically for the size and roughness of a pickleball. The comfortable fabric and ultra lightweight feel will quickly make Avi your go-to pickleball gear for tournaments and league nights. Try it for yourself and receive a special 20% discount with code TheDink20 at checkout. That's all caps TheDink20 at checkout. That's TheDink20 at aviathletics.com, aviathletics.com for the best performance wear in pickleball. Boom.
That's how we do it here.
Big fan.
So do you think we're agents of change, Zane?
Yeah, probably.
Because we brought it up on the podcast, all the issues with the paddle testing process. We put a blog out.
And challenge system. We did that
and
too.
challenge system. And now, USA Pickleball, Major League Pickleball, the Pro Pickleball Association, all teamed up, made a joint statement that they're going to be revamping the on-site paddle testing process.
Good.
Seems pretty straightforward to me.
So if we kind of look at the high points of this thing, right? It's USA Pickleball is teaming up with MLP and the PPA Tour to overhaul paddle testing. There will be automated equipment specifically designed for paddle testing to be used on site and in the lab. A proprietary software will be created, so that's future, for data analysis. And MLP Daytona will focus on data collection and analysis of the current standards. It will help establish the protocols and policies for in-field testing. So essentially this statement, they were like, oh yeah, we're releasing this, we're introducing this new paddle testing process. But really, what they're saying is we're going to start surveying and collecting data so that we can, in the future, implement a new paddle testing process.
So I think it's good. I don't think you want to go. They want to make sure that they get it correct, right? And they don't want to come out with something that where we can just poke holes in immediately, because that's what I do. And I after I had my paddle challenged, I had a lengthy conversation with Carl Schmitz, who's now in charge of some of the paddle compliance stuff for USA Pickleball.
Mhm.
And I like to think I was pretty rough on him, like not disrespectful, but I was like, look, this isn't good. Here's all the reasons why somebody can still cheat. And he acknowledged them. He acknowledged the biggest thing being the flaws in the current testing. And he showed me this computer software.
So there is a software. This isn't just some like future software that they're working on.
No, he showed me something. It looks like a topographical map of a paddle surface.
Mm.
So like you have the surface of the paddle, and when you have a raw carbon surface, on a microscopic level, it might look something like this, where there's like peaks and there's some valleys. And when you use the stare-it tester, you put it down in one spot, and then it picks up a reading. You could pick it up and put it down in the exact same spot. And just because of how variable the surface is, even in almost the exact same spot, it's going to give you a different reading.
Mm-hmm.
It's so this topographical map looking thing actually looked quite promising. Like he showed me how he can take an image of a paddle, draw a circle on this software, and it'll give you an average of some form of surface friction. I don't know the physics behind it and whatnot, but it was a very interesting conversation. Prior to that, I had zero faith in paddle testing,
Mm-hmm.
literally zero. Now I would put it up to 51% controlling interest faith in paddle testing. When that comes, I don't know, but Carl expressed some interest in chatting with us for sure and explaining some of it. But it looked promising. What that looks like in Daytona, I don't know. But I'm optimistic, at least. And I was very, very, very pessimistic beforehand. In fact, to the point where I was saying, like, let's just drop it completely.
Mm-hmm.
Drop paddle testing completely.
So I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but I figure you guys would like to.
Yeah, that makes
Send it.
Know about this. So I got a call from certain somebody last night, and it seems like as of right this second, 2:05 p.m. Central Time, I am not allowed to use my carbon paddle for PPA Austin.
Really?
Yes, as of 2:05 p.m., I am not allowed to play with my carbon paddle. If I was going to play with it, then I would have to basically give my paddle out after I play for testing, but not on-site testing, but
Sending back to NTS.
correct. And so I was also told that the reason why this happened is because, and we're talking about deflection, not about grit,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone knows that the carbon paddles got, this thing going on at the last U.S. Open and the grit levels wise, which I never saw anyway, but whatever. This is about deflection. And I was told that every paddle besides one that they tested, used or new, came out basically 60% too hot. Which now, full disclosure, I love Carvin. I love my paddles. That paddle, brand new, it is not a good paddle. You play with it a day, 2 days, 3 days. Every day that you play with it, it gets better and better and better. right? And now it got to the point where I've been playing with the same paddle. I have like 10 different paddles, and I write numbers on it to see which one's which. I'm playing with number 2. The only reason why I'm playing with the number 2 is because I broke the number 1, right? So, I mean, I have 10 paddles sitting at home. They're all kind of used, whatever. And I just know that the more I play with it, the better it gets. So that said, I've only used 2 Carbon series. And the reason why I'm using the number 2 is because I broke the first one. And basically, my question to you guys is, what are your thoughts on, let's say I play with this paddle, right? Supposedly it's illegal. Supposedly. We don't know that. But how can I trust that my paddles are all illegal if I'm not seeing the testing done?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being told this, all of them are illegal. Now that's, like I said, like the brand new ones are not poppy. They're very soft, very much control-like, and as the paddle delaminates, as everyone knows, it gets poppier. So how could that possibly happen? So what are your thoughts?
That's interesting because you said that they had tested some paddles,
Brand new and used, and all of them are way too hot.
so even the new ones are
Even the new
apparently
ones.
too hot. Interesting, because it becomes a timing issue, right? Where like a lot of times maybe these come off sometimes these could come off the rack fine and then delaminate over time. But it's interesting that you said that like they tested some new ones as well, having that problem.
But did they specify the new ones were 60% too hot in terms of deflection specifically?
Correct. Yeah, deflection. It's all about deflection with the carbon paddles.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think I'm not saying that my paddle is illegal. I'm not saying that it's not illegal. I just think at the end of the day, it would be nice to see the actual results of it.
Yeah.
Instead of just, basically telling us that we shouldn't play with the paddle.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's interesting topic.
If you play and then you send your paddle in for testing or whatever, is it possible that like you could get fined or you could get in trouble?
I don't know, but I don't want to find out. I'd rather just not play with it at that point.
Yeah.
Honestly. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm playing with the old carbon, not the power series this tournament. More like the original one, which I'm more than happy to do so. I just truly think the carbon power series is the best paddle in the market.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think you can kind of attest to that, based on my results lately, Thomas's results lately, Vivian's results. Like, all of us are doing really well, and we've all been. So, we'll see.
So are you worried at all going back to the carbon? What is it? The spin series, or the new one's the power series? What's your outlook on the weekend, given that you're not going to be able to play with the same paddle that you've been playing with?
Well, it's tough. It's really tough for me because I personally don't have any more of those paddles at the moment. So I'm hoping that they'll get shipped out soon, or that there'll be an answer at some point as to what paddles we can play with and not play with. So I'm a little bit worried. I haven't even played with the paddle itself yet. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. Like I said, I don't even have one in my hands at the moment that I could even possibly practice with to get used to it. So it's not very promising, but,
And where did this, what was the line of communication here? Is this something that went from USAP to Carbon to you? Like, where did the communication stem from and end?
Well, it's a PPA tournament too. It's worth.
Sure, but
mentioning.
now
I guess
these
they're
guys
doing
are all in cahoots.
it. Right.
Yeah, so I got a call from PPA. Now, that said, it probably has to do with every tournament out there that we play, right? So MLP or PPA, doesn't matter because they're all working together. So my guess is that they're applying the same rules to both as they are, working together. So
Interesting. So I wonder if this is did USA Pickleball test the paddle, or did PPA test the paddle, or what? I'd assume it might have been Carl, because it was interesting to see Carl on site doing the testing at a PPA event on whatever that was last weekend in Daytona. I don't know. I think this is gonna be more big news.
Yeah.
This is the
big news coming.
Britney Spears. Oops, I did it again.
Keep going.
I can't keep going. I can't.
Yeah, I think it's just like it'd be good if there was some consistency. At this point, we're all like, everybody's just trying to figure it. Like you as a player. So Thomas Wilson, Vivian, who else? Are they all in the same boat?
Yeah, all the Carvin sponsor athletes, all of us decided to play with the Carvin Power Series when it came out because it was just a really good paddle.
Right.
And so all of us now have to change. And I don't know what that's going to look like. As of right now, I truly don't have the answer to that. Otherwise, I'll tell you guys. And I'm just waiting for Garrett from Carvin to give me a call. I'm waiting
Right.
to see what happens. And so it's kind of all up in the air. Just unfortunate. But
I
Breaking
assume
news.
it's not the only brand then. It's just the only one we know of who's kind of like on this thin ice for the upcoming tournament here.
it's a good question. I don't know. I haven't heard of anybody having the same problem. But yeah, I mean, I personally would like to see these certain deflection tests being done where we can actually see it. Truly, I mean, I'm not gonna try and like throw, rocks or anybody under the bus, but I don't know if someone like Anna Lee could possibly hit the ball as hard as someone that's 6'2" and 190 pounds. So we'll see. I think some paddles need to be tested, and I don't know. Hopefully, we can all see for ourselves if it's all true or not, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to have a little bit more transparency in some of this stuff. And I think if you're going to have published policies, and if you're going to say that you can only have, and I'll use, the grit as an example because I'm more familiar with that, and that's because that's been going on for longer. If you're going to have a maximum of 43 grit and a paddle comes back above that, well, I think people probably have a right to know where that paddle came in. Was it 43.1? Was it 100? Like in terms of deflection, right? Like, can you have a third party like watching these tests, making sure they're done correctly, unbiased? It's all done a little bit behind closed doors, which just, maybe if USA Pickleball had been crushing it since the beginning, people would have some built up trust in their process, but they haven't. And, they are trying to rebuild that for sure. And I think the best way to rebuild that is transparency. So I'd be curious to know, why it still does seem to be a little bit behind closed doors.
Yeah, it's a good question. Like I said, I just would love to see my paddle testing illegal instead of just being told that it's
Right.
illegal. But
Right.
we'll see.
Well, here we are again.
So lesson here, everybody, don't use an illegal paddle. Just take steroids.
There you go.
That's where you make the difference.
Take steroids because you don't get tested and use an illegal pen. Don't use
And there's no policy.
Yeah, exactly. Don't use the illegal paddle. You might get caught. Just take your steroids.
I like
I
it.
agree.
This is good advice. This is why you guys come here. Subscribe because this is just good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. I want to talk about nationals moving. Do we care? When I heard it, I was like, I don't care. It's closer driving for me, so cool. But there were some people who were up in arms about it. The nationals leaving Indian Wells, and now PPA owns and operates nationals. At least owns a portion of it. Controlling interest, Zane? I don't know. Would you guys
I
care
heard
at all? I mean,
not-
do you have an opinion on this?
Non-controlling interest, but that was just word on the street.
Mhm.
Do I care? Not really. Do you care? I don't know.
I don't really care either. I think there's just a lot of events out there. I don't think nationals will be the same if it's not in, beautiful Palm Springs at the Indian Wells facility. But at the end of the day, it's just another tournament for me. So
At this point, where the tournaments all bleed together, right? One tournament is almost the same as the next in most material ways. So like, nationals is a really cool venue, really cool experience for amateurs. And it's really cool as a professional to play in some of those packed center courts. right? But now we have packed center courts at Daytona, U.S. Open, MLP Mesa. Like, we're packing center courts pretty decently. It's cool to be at some of these venues for sure, but I just don't know. For me, it doesn't feel super different if we're in Indian Wells or if we're at Pictona, right? The Daytona place.
For me, it does, but
All right. Well,
but I get
then
what he's saying.
then what does feel different about it? For me, it feels like it's kind of just another weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it is another weekend. I would probably argue that I like California better than I like Florida personally. At the same time, I grew up playing tennis, not as good as most pickleball players nowadays. I was just a pretty decent junior, and playing in Spain. So I don't know, playing at a tournament where it's considered a fifth major in tennis, and you kind of just come in and play pickleball on center court, which I lost. And to me, that's just a pretty special feeling that can be you can repeat over and over and over again, and you don't really get tired of it, right? Like, I'm sure Nadal is like, oh, I just won another French Open. Like, my goodness, like it's just a cool feeling in my opinion. So for me, I just think that center court, it's probably better than most center courts I've ever been in pickleball. It's bigger, it's more packed. I think the venue's beautiful. It's California, so the weather is great. So it is another tournament, and we do play a lot. But to me, that venue especially does hold a little bit of a special, place in my heart, I would say, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's obviously very cool, but I think a big piece of it is they do a really good job of marketing that venue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we played. You call Indian Wells the fifth major. We played at a home of an actual major,
Mm-hmm.
right? We played in the home of the U.S. Open of tennis. It wasn't great, right? It was cool. Don't get me wrong. It was super cool. Like, I've been there. I've watched tennis matches as a kid. But, like, we didn't fill up that venue the same way that Indian Wells gets filled up. So I think there's something to say.
Close.
Oh, yeah, not even close. But I think there's something to say for the ability to use that venue as a promotional tool. And I wonder if the same will be the case of Dallas. I don't even know where it is in the Dallas area.
Brookhaven Country Club.
Of course.
I'm actually pretty sure that in mixed doubles, I lost twice to you that tournament.
Did you?
Yeah, I think it might have been like quarter, and then I got all the way back to the bronze or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I got
Played
beat up
at,
again.
11 p.m. that night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yikes.
I think that's one of the interesting things is like the being able to handle all that capacity. I feel like Indian Wells would be better for that versus a country club, but I've never seen this country club. And
Everything's
looks
bigger
like,
in Texas. Might be an enormous country club.
well, they're increasing the amount of participants by 50% too.
Really?
Yeah. So supposedly going to be bigger.
So weren't there like 40 courts at Nationals already?
There were a lot of them.
And so what? That means there's going to be 60 courts? I don't know if they're increasing the number of courts necessarily. It could just be a longer tournament.
I don't know what. So it's 3,500 amateur and professional players. I don't know what Nationals was previously.
I have no idea.
No idea.
I barely.
It sounds like
signed
a
up in
lot of
time.
players to handle.
Yeah.
So I guess. No, I guess we'll see.
We shall see. That'll be interesting. I've never been over to that place.
Me neither.
Good for them.
Yeah.
We'll drive over there.
One thing to note about the last two topics was like, okay, so new paddle testing process. It's USA Pickleball, Major League Pickleball, and the PPA. And now Nationals is USA Pickleball and the PPA. And because of the relationship between PPA and MLP, there's probably some MLP buy-in. APP is kind of outside looking in on both of these things. It's just kind of interesting because APP and USA Pickleball used to be like tied at the hip. And even when we're thinking about Nationals, if you're going to get a golden ticket to earn your spot in Nationals, aren't those APP tournaments? A lot of them are, right? So now is the PPA going to have to honor APP?
I think I read something about that they are going to actually. I'm pretty sure.
I assume it'd
Yeah.
be pretty bad PR to just be like, nope.
No, I think I read something somewhere where like, yeah, they were totally just going to let them do it, but I could be wrong. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough for APP for sure. I think that was a decent alliance that they had there. You know, if it is over, I don't know. I don't know if they're still running golden ticket events. Yeah, that's tough for them to be on the outs there.
Right. I mean, USA. So I did talk to Chuck at USA Pickleball, and he just very clearly said, "No, we want APP involved in all of this stuff as much as possible. It just hasn't happened yet." So for what it's worth, there.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with the golden ticket events and whatnot. I haven't played one of those in a minute.
In a while. I don't think we even think about it ever.
No.
Yeah.
No, which doesn't mean that it's not a good tournament. It's just not really relevant for us.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's weird too because APP announced that partnership with UTR, which is going to be a direct competitor to Duper, right? Duper's aligned with MOP and PPA. So there could be some kind of natural fragmentation there, right? Where there's sort of like, two sides and USA Pickleball is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think what USA Pickleball used a third party to create their rating system. If I'm not, what is that? UTPR, right? So I don't.
Oh yeah.
I don't
We
think.
don't really talk about that anymore.
No, not really. I don't think that USA Pickleball is tied into. I don't think they're formally tied into any rating system. So you could see them embrace Duper or less likely UTR. I don't know exactly at this point what UTR has to offer. We had that announcement that they were getting involved in pickleball, and I've seen nothing of it.
All I've seen is a comment on our pickleball post, like on the Dink account. So I don't know. That's about all I got. I don't know what values they're watching pickleball. I mean, I think they're going to make a big play. It's just like, how do you? Duper's already done such a good job of infiltrating all these venues, clubs, and tournaments around the country. I mean, it's going to be tough to compete.
Yeah, they have a big time first mover advantage.
For sure.
Duper does.
Are you still with Duper?
Oh, yeah, I am. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Cool.
You're on those commercials.
I am on the commercials. We need to Duper guys. We need to redo those commercials.
I actually think they're really funny. I've just seen them, 1,000 times.
Right.
All right, last thing we need to cover, because otherwise only Voldemort podcast is going to talk about it. Shick, this kid came out of nowhere. Seems to be pretty legit. Ben doesn't seem to have too much of a problem with him in the finals, but obviously if you come from the qualifiers and end up on Championship Sunday, you're doing something interesting, particularly if you haven't played any pro singles tournaments before. What are your thoughts on this kid? I mean, I don't know. I was super impressed. Really exciting style of play, and a lot of shots that just make for awesome highlights.
Well, I think in every sport. So I will say he was pretty impressive to watch. He was obviously very good at singles. Now, I will say that in every single sport out there, especially in UFC itself, or just like, anything that has to do with fighting or anything like that, there's always someone out there that it's not in the spotlight, that maybe has a family, so has to work some construction job or whatever, whatever it is, can't afford a gym anymore, that is not a professional in that certain thing, and they could be better than the number one player in the world or the number one wrestling thing in the world, like whatever it is. And it happens everywhere. And I'm not saying Shick is like the best player in the world, and that's not what I'm saying at all, even though I think he's very good in singles. But I think those people will come in and out. Someone will play, do really well. Someone will play, do really well and fall off. I think we just see that happen all the time. And yeah, I just think there's always people out there in any specific scenario that are just better than you are. They just they have a family, they have a job or whatever it is, and you just can't do it as often as we do.
Yeah, and then part of that is you guys just haven't seen him play. You don't know his playing style. So when you play him for the first time, a lot of the unorthodox things he's doing are catching you off guard. But if you play him a few times, you get used to those little nuances to his game. You kind of figure him out. That advantage of being the new guy kind of subsides over time.
Yeah,
you get a scouting report on people over time, and I think this is a fairly well documented pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody can come in and break in, and they can, surprise some people. And then naturally, they take a little bit of a step back as people get the read on them and an expectation of them, right? Like you see Collin Shick in the draw, and you're like, okay, I have a easy round. I never heard of this guy before.
Right.
And then next time, after he kicks your ass the first time, you're like, okay, I need to take this guy seriously. I'm not going to let him get up a game on me or whatever. So like, and again, none of this is to say that Collin is not a good player, because I think that the things that he is doing is going to lead to a really strong pickleball career if he decides to quit that bum stuff of being a doctor and pursue something meaningful like pickleball.
Yeah.
So I think that the athleticism that he has is, I've yet to see somebody quicker. I don't know. You have you, DJ?
I mean, outside of watching professional tennis,
Yeah, right. In
but on the
pickleball.
pickleball court itself, definitely not. I haven't, but I will also add that one of the skills that make a really good athlete in any sport is adaptability, right? Like you see something happen, it gets you, and then it's okay. I know that's gonna happen, so I'm gonna basically not let it happen ever again. And I mean, Ben Johns is like the master of that, right? Like you get Ben once, and then you try again. And you're like, oh, wait.
Yeah, Collin
Nope.
got him once. You got him in the first game, and then the next two games were
I mean, it's a
beatdowns.
beatdown. Like it's not competitive. You kind of just, it's you. He wins the second game. He's like 4-0, and you're like, all right, sounds good, and you like turn off the YouTube, right? So I think for a lot of us that are in that top 10, top 15 in the world, we're there because even though there might be someone more skilled, we're just able to adapt better with the circumstances than other people that might be a little bit better than us. They just can't deal with the wind as well. They just can't really adjust in game as well, and you just find it's like that in-game strategy that they're just not good at. And I think it's a huge thing to basically be what makes you a really good pickleball player, basically, or any type of
Sure. As
sport.
people get accustomed to his patterns, can he get accustomed to theirs? Right?
Mhm.
Because obviously the shoe's on the other foot in that case, right? He doesn't know Ben. Ben doesn't know him.
Mm-hmm.
So can he adjust and make adjustments to beat Ben? Now, here's the thing. Here's where I think Collin Shick is really a very, very promising player in singles, especially. There's two important pieces of movement in singles. Who covers the court best in singles currently? Who would you guys say?
Who covers the court best? The kitchen line or the baseline?
Good question. Let's just overall, who covers the court the best?
I always think of like Julian Arnold as being able to get to shots when you think like the point's over and he just keeps it alive somehow.
Mm-hmm.
That's what comes to mind for me.
I would say
Federico.
Julian. Federico and Julian are type 1 movers. And I'll say this, which means they're very, very fast. Once they get going, once they get a going, they'll get to anything. You know who else is really good movers? Ben and JW. They look slow, right? But they're on everything. Ben's impossible to pass. J-Dub's super difficult to pass. You watch those guys run, they're not fast. They're type 2 movers. They have a really, really powerful lunge. They can cover 90% of the court in one lunge, where Federico and Julian have to take 2 or 3 really quick steps. Collin is both, and that's why I think he's so promising. When he's covering at the net, his first step is incredibly powerful. At the net, he's able to take one big lunge and get to that ball. From the baseline, he's fast. He's the first person that I've seen that has the two types of movement combined.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was really impressed when he had a lot of good wins, obviously, but especially when he beat Dylan, in my opinion, because now Dylan might not be the best singles player out there, but he plays full on pickleball, right? Like you play him in doubles, you play him in singles, mixed up, whatever it is, and you know that he's just gonna pull some pickleball stuff on you that you just like, okay, well, he's a pickleball player. I'm a tennis player, right? Type of thing. And he was able to just basically see right through that and beat Dylan. Now, I think he had some really good wins at the same time, but it's more of a tennis on tennis. Like, let's see who's faster. Let's see who gets to the more. Let's see who's like an actual warrior out there, you know, a dog, right? And basically make more balls or hit better shots. But with Dylan, I was like, Dylan's going to come in, drop, play cat and mouse with him, and probably just beat him up. And it was like 0 of that. He just like took care of business pretty well too. Yeah. So
Dylan's not a fun matchup for tennis players, for new tennis players especially, because they're like, what the hell is this? This is not tennis.
Yeah, exactly.
But Shick was able to deal with it, and it was a good match. I think it was, a 3-setter, right?
Yeah. It was a very good match, but I was just not expecting that at all. Just like I said, just someone like Dylan that he can hit a drive like in tennis, but it's not a tennis drive. So how do you read that? You know, in singles especially, it's like, I just have no idea where the ball's going.
True that.
All right. Well, he's in med school, so we'll see if he actually dedicates some serious time to this. What do you think his upside is?
In singles?
Mm-hmm.
I think. I mean, it can be. I don't know. I don't play singles.
You've started to play singles lately.
Yeah, a little bit.
Is that more? So are more players doing that just to get reps for like Major League Pickleball? Is that kind of what that's about?
So for me, it started that way. And then it kind of turned out that I personally like it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do like it. Now, given that I'm playing like 3 or 4 matches max, right? Like I'm just maybe win first round, then I lose to a seed, then I maybe win 1 round again, and then I lose. So I'm not going through the full grind of playing a full tournament in singles like Zane would. Maybe if that ever happens, I would change my mind and be like, yeah, we're never doing this again. But as of right now, it went from, okay, I need to be good for singles for MOP purposes. And I was like, oh, wait, this is kind of fun.
There you go.
So,
yeah, I think the upside is pretty high for him because he can play the cat and mouse. He's lightning fast, both types of movement. He must be decently smart if he's in med school, like to be able to figure some stuff out. I think he's got a lot of potential, and the thing that I think people weren't even necessarily paying attention to was some of the things that he could create from the kitchen, the cat and mouse stuff, and going toe to toe and winning a couple of hands battles against Dylan and Ben in singles. Obviously, that's different than winning a hands battle in doubles, but still not easy to do. So I think, if he puts his mind to it, I don't see why he couldn't be a competitor for the number 1 spot.
Pretty high on him.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
All right, are we going to do our wrap-up thing that you made me wait for?
Yeah, but what we're going to do is just say, okay, that's a pod. Subscribe. Leave a review on Spotify.
Subscribe.
Do it again.
Subscribe now.
I like that. But yeah, that's a pod.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had fun, yeah.